Well, Kate Frenzy has returned. But we're kind of in a new set now. How do you like it? We may be in a new set, but that doesn't mean that the pile is gone. Unfortunately, the pile has gotten bigger. What am I gonna do? Okay, so are you ready for this? Because this one's humongous. It's almost the size of half my body. I don't even know where I'm going to store the box for this one because it's just so big. Today's figure comes to us from Ami. Let's get to the unboxing. The biggest one I purchased since Karis, I think, actually. For Ami, as usual, we have a new photo for the new year. It's Amiko in a Stargirl outfit. Oh, what's this? There's something inside this box. What a beautiful box! Oh my god, it's so big! Wait, is there more stuff in here? Oh my god, there's even more stuff in here. Oh, wow. Okay, let's get to the box. So for this one, it's in a gorgeous black box. The Onmyoji logo on front, and also a very clean logo up top, which is Higanbana up top as well. The light horse or spider lily symbol of hers on the back. The sides have nothing. It's very clean. It's a very kind of traditional box. This reminds me of how a lot of Japanese presents, especially like the more traditional ones, are in a more traditional box. So this kind of reminds me of that. This part has a flap that just kind of opens up. This is actually a big giant poster of her. This is some gorgeous art. Ooh, shiny. We have this super clear box for her. Also, this other box, which is these little paper Shikigamis. I guess these are blind boxes. All sorts of little figures from this as well. Also, there's this. While it's nothing really impressive, it is a very clean box. Very good presentation, so 8 out of 10. Now let's move on to the packaging. As you saw, it was covered in lots and lots of paper, and then it also had this bag on top. Inside of this box, right, so there's another layer of protection there. I should also mention that inside the box, there is an additional layer of like styrofoam right here that protects it from damage. So that's a really good indication of the quality of the protection. Right here, there is a little black booklet as well. There's so many things with this. This box actually has a triple layer of protection. There's one here, one here, one here. And then there's a box surrounding that. A box and a box and a box. So it's very, very protective. I think the packaging on this is quite clean, and as you can see, there's tons of plastic pieces holding her in place, and like little bits of like the foam. 3 pieces of tape on top. Very pretty logo on the top. Instruction booklet. All you have to really do is just set her light course down and then just put her on top of that. Her base is fucking humongo. So you can see here, there's so much protection. This front part just comes right off. And there's all the plastic pieces that's covering her. Okay, so there's this. There's also this giant back piece protecting her hair. Over here too. And on the back side as well. Remove the back side piece, which is also taped down into the box as well. The flower base is also in its own protective layer. There's a second layer on top of this protecting it, so that's good too. This one is covered in this plastic, kind of surprised. It's very, very light. There is a torii gate with the light course flowers as well. The major base is just down here. I should also mention on this box, there's a whole bunch of kanji on it. Can you see that? Better view of the back. There's a lot of glare, I'm sorry. It's also in 2 layers as well. This is quite different from my normal stands. It's not plastic, it's nice and soft, it's very elegant. I don't know where I'm gonna put this, it's fucking huge. It also smells like fish. Okay, so packaging wise, this is very well protected. I'm gonna give this one a 10 out of 10. And then just for assembly purposes, take this part and then line it up with the bottom part. And she just sits like that. And then this will just sit right on top of this, like so. Alright, so let's move on to the stats. Today's figure is quite the mouthful. Coming to us from NetEase Games is Onmyoji Honkaku Gensou RPG's Higanbana Kaei Juutan, with sculpt work done by Azure Heikiku. This figure is in the 1/8 scale, which means she is roughly around 13 inches in height, and a width and length of about 10 inches. That includes her flat base. This figure cost me $407.26 Canadian. That is with shipping fees included from DHL, and the figure came out on March 4th of 2022, so just a few days ago. So now let's talk about the sculpt and the paint. So for this one, I'm going to do something a little bit different. I want to talk about the base right off the bat. This funny little base. So this base, normally you would get a base made out of plastic for most models, and I'm much more used to that. But this is made out of some kind of felt fabric or like suede or velvet. And whenever I get something that feels like this, it brings me back to like when I was in 3rd grade at school being like, hey, let's make art. Here's some felt. And you're like, what the hell am I supposed to do with felt? And these people though have decided to use felt for their base. Fairly reminiscent of making like a placemat for like a ceremonial object or a sacred object, especially in like Chinese, Japanese, Korean cultures, and it makes the object look a lot more prestigious. This kind of mat does add that kind of flair to this model. It has the light chorus designs all across the bottom, and it's got that golden red. The red is this nice deep crimson red, which is one of my favorite colors. It does take up a lot of space, so trying to find a space for this is going to be a little bit difficult for me because I'm running out of space in the back of me and I don't know where to put this. And I do think it deserves a little shout out to the design because it's very interesting. One caveat though, if you have pets, animal fur will get on it very, very easily, and that sucks. So be careful if you have pets. So for the meat of the review, let's talk about Higanbana. What does Higanbana mean? Well, Higanbana actually means the flower of the autumn equinox. Isn't that really cool? That is one of the coolest names I've ever heard. It's referring to the lycoris flower, the thing that you see on the back of her head and also on her base. The lycoris flower is actually my favorite flower. It's also known as the spider lily. You can find it in many different colors, and these flowers are quite special in Japanese folklore because they do belong to a sense of dread or even peace. The flower itself kind of refers to the cycle of life and death. In Buddhist terms, it would be called the samsara, and that is like the rebirth cycle that happens when people die. And the flower itself is known to be kind of growing near grave sites, and a lot of farmers also tend to plant them near like their crops in rice fields because the bulbs on the flower right here are actually poisonous and said to have warded off insects. We have it on the base. It's got all the stems going all around it, and it's really fun. The base is actually lighter than I thought it was going to be. She does feel quite light in general when you're holding her, and obviously I wouldn't suggest you hold her, but holding her is actually not super cumbersome as I thought it would be, just because she has this other base on the bottom which you can hold on to. This base again is also a very flat plastic base. This is what I'm more used to when we're talking about bases. I believe there's a metal rod up here in this piece. There's maybe one in her leg too, which helps her keep her balance. I have mentioned in videos before that models that are on one leg, they tend to bend off to one direction when you have them facing one way too long, and that is a problem with a lot of cheaper models that don't tend to reinforce their figures. This one though, I can sort of feel that metal rod going through her body, So I feel like she's not going to move very much if she does. And that's a really good sign when it comes to this figure. Also for reinsurance to people who collect these figures. Because we never want our figures to start leaning, because at that point they become weak and they look bad. And they might fall over, they might break. That would be disastrous for everybody. This figure has a really sturdy stand. I am very impressed with the stand in this figure. Not to mention all the clear plastic bits going on, the ABS or PVC. It is so fun and swirly, and she has all of these talismans on the bottom. So these talismans, normally they're meant to ward off evil, create spells, and all sorts of that good magic stuff. This figure already has a very visually impressive look just because of all that red. You're probably wondering, like, what does all this mean for the character? Higanbana comes from a game called Onmyoji. Onmyoji is about these people called Onmyoji who are people that can possess Shikigami. Shikigami are like paper spirits, and they can manifest those spirits into, think of it like spiritual Pokemon. They can basically summon these people or spirits, and the spirits will help them fight evil. This kind of game, you know it as a gacha game. Gacha meaning like you have a lot of characters, but you have a very random chance of getting them. And Higanbana isn't one of the easy characters to get. She is actually rated SSR, which in that game means that she is super, super rare and basically harder to get than most figures, which is why she looks so elaborate. A lot of the characters in that game have very elaborate designs. They're very fun to look at. But this figure has a much more floral pattern going on with her design, and she looks a lot more intricate than some of the other characters just because of her status as an SSR character. A lot of the SSR characters, like Shiranui for instance, has really impressive detail in their original designs. The Shikigami can evolve and they can turn into different versions of themselves with different outfits. And oh my god, almost all the characters have like a bajillion outfits. So you're stuck there trying to roll for these outfits, and until you get them, you're just constantly playing the game. Thankfully for me, I don't get stuck in the gacha games, but I do get stuck in the good art. So I had to go into this game to look at some of the details on this outfit to see how close it was to the actual in-game. The NetEase games people, the guys who designed the game, also worked on the model. So I'm pretty sure these are one-to-one in terms of design. And that's what makes these look really quite interesting. It's what makes them look so fluid, because the designs in this game are very, very fluid. And that is definitely shown throughout the way that the model is. You can see there's tons of different motion, the hair, the flower, the robes, the spiral base, everything about it is just so dynamic. I do want to talk about her face a little bit. When her face is kind of facing this way, it's pretty okay. Facing that way is okay. But when you look at it dead on, like straight on, I feel like the eyes are a little bit too wide across. Like they don't quite have a solid look, and I feel like they're being stretched out a little bit more than I would like. But it also might just be the angle, because from different angles it does look pretty good, but there's something about the head-on appearance that I feel like it's slightly off. You will also notice that as I'm putting her in this view, you will notice that she's holding this little thing here. I'm not quite sure what that is. I think it has to do with prayer or candle, like it's a Buddhist candle thing. I'm not too sure. If you do know, let me know in the comments. It has the Light Chorus logo on there too, which was very finely painted. I was very impressed with that. I was just like, wow, it's so tiny but so detailed. I kind of call it like the princess pose, swinging through rain or something. You're like, ha. With her design motif of that light chorus, that spider lily flower, you can see it right here, that giant flower. This is one of the nicest designs I've seen for a headpiece. The light chorus is used quite a bit in Japanese tradition. It is said you're not supposed to give anybody a bouquet of light choruses because it means kind of like you want them to die. But in a lot of Japanese fashion or like traditional base fashions, they will have light choruses as a design motif that don't have that motif of death. Let's move on to like her hair, because her hair is fantastic. I love this hair. Look how big and wavy the hair is. It just goes all out. It fans out. There's so many individual pieces. It's very nicely colored. There is actually a little bit of highlight in her hair. She has this light brown going through her hair, and it does add a little bit of extra detail to the hair. And you can see in the light here that it does have a very shiny appearance to the hair as well. So they did a good job on the hair piece. And all these little extra red pieces really amplify the look of the hair because your eyes are drawn to the brown, to the red, and to the very vibrant bow in the back. I love this bow. This is a very pretty bow, which also ties into the big obi at the front. There's also the gold leaf pattern on it too. Now for the kimono, we have a very solid dark blue indigo kind of color with the gold motif as well on there. You can see that there are little bits of the red tassel on her chest as well to tie the design together with all of the hair pieces and the base. On the sleeves, we actually have these really nice ribbons. A lot of old traditional Japanese kimonos have very elaborate ribbon work, and this is no exception. We have all of that. There's the gold, the red, the white, and the little triangle piece. And there's also the red underside of the kimono, which also ties into the rest of the design. So that is a very good design decision on their part. There isn't any paint missing from this, so the paint job on this is fairly fantastic. I do wish, however, that it was more of a shiny paint rather than a matte paint. If it was a bit more glossy, I think this character would really look quite impressive. I don't know if it would cheapen it though, because some characters, when they're painted in a really high gloss, it looks a little cheap. But for this one, I think it would have added a lot of extra detail, especially with a base that's like this. If she was also kind of glossy like this, I think it would have been like a killer 10 out of 10. I just wish it was a little bit more like pizzazz. Other than that though, the rest of the figure, like this is where the pop comes in, right? You have the teal obi, and there's also like the golden motif on there too, and this giant ribbon that's like flailing in the wind. Everything is just so organic looking, you know, like this figure really oozes like that flower appeal of this character. Speaking of which, even on the bottom of her kimono, you can see there's bits of light chorus. Now down here, I wish these were a bit more detailed. Maybe some line work, you know, like some black lines in there to kind of define the flower instead of being just a mess of red with little bits of blue. It's really nice, like kind of like a shadow version of the flower, but I kind of wish it was more like detailed. That would really make this figure also stand out a little bit more, I feel like. As for like the bottom part of her leg here, her nails are actually painted on her toenails, which I thought was a nice little extra little detail they didn't have to do, but they did. It's nothing really special. You have the really big Japanese traditional like kimono sandal. I forgot what they're called. Even though it's traditional, it definitely has some style points to it. I think in general, I really do like everything about it. The pose is nice, the paint is nice, the sculpt work is really awesome. Just having the extra little base to make her look a lot more ceremonial and like just way more elaborate, I think it really adds to the overall appeal of this figure. It feels solid, it has really good lines, the fingers are really nice, the paint on them are really nice, the kimonos are nice, the robe just flowing in the wind. Everything about the sculpt on this is great. I just think that there's something off with the face. So for that reason, I'm gonna give this figure's sculpt 9.5 out of 10. It does deserve a full 10, but personally I feel like the face is slightly off. Some people probably won't be bothered by it at all. It's very elaborate but also very plain at the same time. So for sculpt, I'm definitely giving it a 9.5. As for the paint job on this, like, I mean, just look at it. It looks so gorgeous. Like, what's there not to like about this figure? It's just really nice. And it's a great model. And I just had to figure out where to put her. She definitely deserves a 10 out of 10 for the paint. Now for the overall appearance, let's do some glamour shots, shall we? So that leaves her with a final score of 47.5 out of 50, which gives her a 95%. I think I'm just a little nitpicky with these. I mean, when you're spending a lot of money on these figures, you kind of have to be. When it comes to spending like $400 on a figure like this, I think I'm allowed to be a little bit nitpicky, okay? However, that's not all that came with this model. One of the reasons why she costs that much money is because she actually came with free other things, which I've actually kind of peeked in a little bit, so I kind of already know what's in them. First off, we have the blind box Shikigami. So when you talk about the Onmyoji, like I mentioned before, these people are known as Shikigami, paper spirit dolls. They look kind of like this. There are very multiple variations of the Shikigami that you can pick out of this blind box. Blind boxes being figures that there's a random figure inside, you don't know what you're getting, and you just open it. They have been a really big staple in the toy industry for like a millennia now. I wasn't expecting a Shikigami blind box with this. So when you pop it open, who do you think's in here? Do you think it's gonna be the sushi guy? Or maybe the sleeping guy? It's actually the sleeping, snoring Shikigami. So in anime, when you have a person sleeping, they tend to have this little nose bubble, and that means that they're gently sleeping or they are being bored of what you're saying. The base on this is really simple. This is the base for this. It's like a mini model in itself. So this has a little like indent in the bottom, and you just kind of put it on there like this, and that's just how it goes. It had 2 pieces of plastic covering it, fairly protected. I mean, it's just a little thing, right? And it's not like it's gonna be broken in that little box, so very fun. We also got this. This is very special. It's got the black box. Open it up. You have this Commemorative Higanbana Pin. So she is the exclusive edition that I bought. This is just a little extra bonus. It is quite gorgeous. I'm definitely not going to be wearing this anywhere or putting it on anything because I don't want the paint to fade. So this is definitely just going to be in my personal collection inside the box. Probably never be to be opened ever again. And it's also lost all value now that I've opened it. Well, at least in a resale market, but I'm not going to resell it. Obviously, because these are mine. And then finally, in this guy, the flat box that I opened up at the beginning, there you go. It's a thicker plaque. You know, I'm not really sure why they gave you this one and also the poster. I guess the poster you can put up, and this one you can frame, or you can frame both of them, or you can just like, I don't know, sleep with this or something. That's what you would do with these, I guess. It's not really something that I would display, I guess. Maybe some people would put it behind the model. I know some people do that. It can be used for a couple different things for some collectors, but for me, I'm just going to keep it in the protective seal, and we're just going to keep it like that. So I believe that will end this review. I hope you enjoyed the review, and if you do like this review, I'm about to open up another Onmyoji figure because it just so happens that these two have coincided. I will be opening another one right after this one. So 2 weeks of Onmyoji. Please look forward to it. If you like this video, check out my other videos. Like, subscribe, maybe. I really hate saying that, but it's a YouTube thing, right? That's all for this week. See ya.